Chosen one. Listen carefully. If things around you have felt strange lately, if people have gone quiet, distant, uncomfortable, this message is not random. It's targeted. Right now, there are people looking at you. The same way crowds looked at Houdini when he slipped out of restraints that were designed to end him. They're staring at you, not in admiration, in confusion. Because according to their math, you should not still be standing. Here is the law they never prepared for. When you operate outside the limits someone believes in, your existence becomes a problem they cannot solve. Not because you're aggressive, not because you're loud, but because you invalidate their entire framework. You've noticed the shift, the delayed replies, the sudden silence, the strange energy when you walk into familiar spaces. People who once felt comfortable around you now watch you carefully. Not because you changed for the worse, but because you didn't break the way they expected. Understand this clearly. Survival was never your destination. It was your activation code. What others call pressure, your system translates into clarity. What crushed them compressed you. They thought the restraints were tight enough. The lack of support, the financial pressure, the isolation, the damage to your name. Every lock was calculated. And yet you're still moving. That's the part that terrifies them. When the attack came, you didn't react the way broken people react. You didn't panic. You didn't explain. You didn't beg to be understood. You went silent. Not the silence of defeat. The silence of observation. While they were talking, you were watching. While they were guessing, you were learning their patterns. They thought you were shrinking. You were recalibrating. Right now, pause. Hand on your chest. One slow breath. Say this. I don't need permission. I move by assignment. Because in the next part, I'm going to expose exactly how they tried to break you. And why it backfired. Stay with me. Chosen one. What you went through was not bad luck. It was not coincidence. It was not just life being hard. It was studied. You weren't attacked randomly. You were targeted based on your psychological profile. They didn't come for everyone like this. They came for you. Because something about you threatened the structure they trusted. Most people assume attacks happen emotionally. They don't. Real attacks happen strategically. And yours followed a very specific pattern. First, they applied financial pressure. Not to destroy you immediately, but to destabilize your confidence. Because when resources feel tight, most people panic. Unexpected expenses. Delayed payments. Support drying up right when you needed it most. Not enough to end you. Just enough to test you. They were watching to see if you'd break alignment for survival. You didn't. That already told them something important. You weren't controlled by fear. Then came isolation. Because when pressure doesn't work, they remove witnesses. Isolation is designed to make you doubt yourself. People went quiet. Support disappeared. Voices you expected vanished. You were left alone with your thoughts. That was intentional. They assumed loneliness would soften you. Instead, it sharpened you. Finally, they touched your reputation. Subtle comments. Quiet narratives. Questions planted without accusations. Not loud enough to confront. Just enough to stain perception. 7:55 to 8:10 mirror recognition. You felt it. Energy changed. People treated you differently. Without ever saying why. That wasn't imagination. That was execution. According to every principle they understood. About breaking human beings. This should have worked. But they made one fatal mistake. They assumed you would react like everyone else. They didn't realize. They weren't attacking a victim. They were training a weapon. Still under construction. In the next part, I'll show you what they didn't anticipate. The moment you went silent. And everything started reversing. Stay with me. Fire Chi and Lock Retention Qua Part 2. Chosen one. Here's where the story changes. This is the moment. Everything they planned started to collapse. Not because you fought back, but because you didn't. There is one rule manipulators never prepare for. They need your reaction to complete the cycle. Anger. Defensiveness. Explanation. Emotional output. Without that, their system starves. They expected you to explain yourself. To defend your name. To prove your intentions. To chase clarity. Instead, you went quiet. And that silence confused them more than any argument ever could. Because silence is not emptiness. Silence is space. And space reveals patterns. While they were trying to provoke, you were observing. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was surveillance. You started noticing timing. Language shifts. Behavior loops. You saw who moved together. Who repeated the same phrases. Who benefited from the chaos. Data started forming. They thought they were studying you. They didn't realize. You had started studying them. Their tactics. Their tells. Their pressure points. You weren't withdrawing. You were recalibrating. Most people survive attacks by enduring them. You survived by evolving. Because of them. That's the difference. They never saw coming. Pause right here. Slow breath in. Slow breath out. Say this. I observe before I respond. I see patterns clearly. And here's what terrifies them most. Every betrayal became training. Every setup became instruction. Every wound became a sensor. In the next part, I'll show you how pressure didn't crush you. It compressed you into something unrecognizable. Stay with me. Chosen one. This is where their mistake becomes obvious. They applied pressure, expecting collapse. What they didn't realize is pressure doesn't destroy everything. Some things are built for it. Here is the law they ignored. What isn't designed for pressure breaks. What is designed for pressure transforms. You weren't breaking down. You were being compressed. Every betrayal wasn't just pain. It was education. Every setup wasn't just cruelty. It was training. Every wound wasn't damage. It was calibration. They were sharpening a blade. They thought they were dulling. They believed enough pressure would make you manageable. What it actually did was make you ungovernable. Because once someone has survived being crushed, control stops working. Fire doesn't destroy steel. When the process is intentional, it tempers it. The same pressure meant to weaken you hardened your discernment. You don't trust easily anymore. You don't rush emotionally. You don't move blindly. That's not damage. That's refinement. You notice things now you never noticed before. Energy shifts. Motives behind words. Intentions before sentences finish. That awareness didn't come from comfort. It came from fire. This is the part they didn't plan for. You can't be manipulated the same way anymore. Guilt doesn't work. Fear doesn't work. Approval doesn't work. Those levers snapped under pressure. Pause. One breath in. One breath out. Say this. What was meant to control me refined me. And now something else is happening. Doors are opening that weren't supposed to open. Access is appearing without you chasing it. In the next part, I'll show you why alignment, not effort, is moving you forward now. Stay with me. Chosen one. Here's what's happening now. You're not just standing anymore. You're advancing. There is a difference between effort and alignment. Effort tries to push doors open. Alignment positions you where doors open on their own. And right now, you're positioned. You've noticed it. Opportunities appearing without you chasing them. Conversations shifting in your favor. Resources showing up right when you need them. Not through manipulation. Not through politics. Through timing. That's why it feels strange. Because you were taught that advancement requires struggle. But alignment doesn't struggle. It moves. Your path isn't being cleared by visible qualifications. It's being cleared by invisible authorization. You're operating from instructions others can't hear. You're accessing rooms that don't respond to credentials. They respond to positioning. That's what confuses them. You didn't kiss rings. You didn't play politics. You didn't wait for approval. And yet, you're moving past checkpoints they thought were mandatory. This isn't luck. This is connection. When you're aligned with your assignment, provision becomes automatic. You don't chase miracles. Miracles chase you. Pause. Relax your shoulders. Slow breath. Say this. I don't force outcomes. I stay aligned. And here's what makes this dangerous. To anyone who tried to control you, you can't be baited anymore. In the next part, I'll show you why emotional manipulation no longer works on you at all. Stay with me. Chosen one. Something fundamental has changed. The tactics that once worked on you no longer land. And that's not an accident. Here's the rule manipulators live by. Whoever controls your emotions controls your direction. Anger, guilt, fear, approval. Those were the levers. They're broken now. You've noticed it. Comments don't hook you anymore. Silence doesn't trigger you. Disrespect doesn't pull you into reaction. What once would have dragged you into chaos now barely registers. They think you've gone cold. You haven't. You've gone centered. And centered people are dangerous. to systems built on emotional volatility. You retired from emotional warfare. Not because you're weak, but because you've already won. You don't need the last word. You don't need validation. You don't need to correct every lie. Your peace speaks louder than any argument ever could. They mistake your calm for passivity. That's their error. You're calm because you've faced far worse than anything they're bringing now. Your peace wasn't gifted. It was earned. Through internal surgery. Through uncomfortable honesty. Through walking away when staying would have cost your soul. This isn't fragile peace. This is controlled power. Pause. Slow breath in. Slow breath out. Say this. I am calm because I am sovereign. And now something deeper is happening. Your calm isn't just affecting you. It's disrupting entire family patterns. In the next part, I'll show you why your presence is breaking generational cycles without you saying a word. Stay with me. Chosen one. What you did was not personal growth. It was generational warfare. And most people will never understand the weight of that. Here is the law of bloodlines. Patterns don't disappear on their own. They repeat until someone becomes strong enough to interrupt them. Silence, shame, abuse, poverty, self-sabotage. Those weren't random traits. They were inherited agreements. You saw it clearly. The same pain wearing different faces. The same wounds passed down and renamed normal. You noticed what others refused to question. And instead of carrying it forward, you said, no. That's why your journey felt heavier than it should have. You weren't just healing yourself. You were carrying the resistance of an entire lineage that never got the chance to choose differently. This is why you felt isolated. Cycle breakers always do. When you refuse to repeat dysfunction, you threaten the identity of everyone who built their life around it. Your growth destabilized their comfort. That's why some relatives act strange now. Why old friends feel distant. Why your presence creates tension without you saying a word. They sense it. You're not here to maintain the old order. You're here to dismantle it. You became the ancestor you needed but never had. You made a decision that rewrote contracts, backward and forward. That's power. Pause here. Hand on your chest. One deep breath. Say this. It ends with me. What I heal, I don't pass down. And here's the part they don't say out loud. Your healing makes people uncomfortable because you remind them of everything they chose not to confront. In the next part, I'll show you why your presence acts like a mirror and why some people resent you for it. Stay with me. Chosen one. Let's address something directly. You don't make people uncomfortable because you're arrogant, cold, or strange. You make them uncomfortable because you reflect truth they've been avoiding. Here's the law they won't admit. People don't react to who you are. They react to who they could have been. Your presence activates comparisons they never wanted to face. That's why criticism comes without substance. Why labels replace conversation. Why distance replaces honesty. It's easier to reduce you to a stereotype than to confront the mirror you represent. You didn't attack them. You didn't shame them. You simply kept moving forward without betraying yourself. And that alone exposes their compromises. Projection is a defense mechanism. When people can't sit with their own regret, they place it on you. They call your confidence arrogance, your boundaries selfishness, your peace indifference. Not because it's true, but because it's easier. You remind them of the path they didn't take, the truth they didn't speak, the courage they traded for approval, the version of themselves they bury to stay comfortable. That's the sting. This isn't mystery. This is exposure. And exposure hurts. When someone isn't ready to be honest with themselves. Pause. One breath in. One breath out. Say this. I release the need to be understood by unwilling. And here's where it all turns. Your freedom doesn't stay isolated. It spreads. In the final part, I'll show you why your alignment is activating others and why that terrifies. Systems built on control. Stay with me. Chosen one. What they're witnessing now isn't luck. It's momentum. And momentum scares people who built their world on control. One person doing the impossible can be dismissed as an exception. But when that person keeps doing it, calmly, cleanly, without permission, something changes. You stop being an anomaly. You become proof. You've noticed it already. People around you starting to speak differently, move differently, take risks they never took before. Not because you told them to, but because watching you gave them permission. That's what truly unsettles observers. Your freedom is contagious. Your peace destabilizes chaos. Your alignment exposes dysfunction. And systems built on fear cannot survive exposure. They believe power came from position, from access, from controlling narratives. You proved something else. Real power comes from alignment, from obedience to inner truth, from moving without asking permission, from systems that were never meant to authorize you. They can't discredit you anymore. You didn't compromise. You didn't sell pieces of yourself. You didn't play the game. And yet you advanced. That reality breaks their story. You are not here to make the impossible look dramatic. You're here to make it look normal, to make freedom look attainable, to make alignment look practical. That's why you are feared. This is the seal. Hand on your chest. One final breath. Say this slowly. I choose alignment over applause. I choose peace over permission. I choose truth even when it costs. You were never supposed to escape. But you did. And now, you're not just free. You're dangerous. To every system that needs people asleep to survive. Stay aligned.